We're back, and you are with Villaincast, BJJ anti-heroes, with myself, Chris the Villain Pains, weekly podcast featuring either my fellow black belt Naki Arshad on our show Reap the Week, or compelling interviews with personalities across Jiu-jitsu. But before we jump into this next show, a thank you to our Patreon subscribers. For exclusive video content and online coaching, you can find out more via chrispainsbjj.com. Or you can join our Discord channel to put your ideas through for future episode discussions. For now, though, take two. It's 6 in the morning. Good morning, Preet.
Good morning to you. Awesome.
I'll try and remember what we said last time. This is our second attempt at this. We had internet connection issues. So it's an early start. Thank you for getting me out of bed at 5:30 in the morning to record this. I look fresh. You look fresh, although it's only 8 o'clock for you. We before everything kind of went wrong, 3 years ago we did this podcast. Wasn't as slick as it is now. I didn't have great lighting behind me or a webcam, so it kind of meant nothing if I had good lighting or not. And you weren't as big yet. It was mid-pandemic and there was nothing else to do. But since then, Defensive BJJ has exploded. I think it was actually Amsterdam pandemic year. You mentioned the idea of Defensive BJJ at the Imnari camp. So it has been 3 years since then. But when you get a larger internet profile, Reddit, the bastion of great conversation for the internet, finds you. I think it's quite good that we get to talk because I'm probably the external student, the external party out of Estonia. It's probably played with your stuff the longest, but compared to people who have maybe only seen your work via YouTube or the Fanatics DVDs, Defensive BJJ, or maybe the odd seminar, maybe they get a different picture of what you can be like, because the idea that you are solely defensive and have no offense and can't tie your defense to offense, my jaw can attest to that not being true, and my arms as well. So this is essentially a podcast to set the record straight, sir. There has been some discussions recently on Reddit regarding does your work ruin white belts? We'll start there as a discussion.
Yeah, there's been few. The one was does it set back some white belts or whatever? I always, and there's other ones that I actually very appreciate that. The Reddit picks it up, the how to kill my turtle. Then something like, yes, there's like the topics popping up, but it's strangely usually with that topic that you mentioned, the setting white belts back, was some critique is okay, it's bad for white belts, and then I guess the message is it's more advanced because I'm advocating turning your back and everything else. And then other people say, no, it can't be white belts, who uses that, whatever, in a higher level, and it's just for beginners, And so I've heard arguments for both, like it's advanced, you shouldn't teach that to beginners, because the turning your back is evolved, and then it is for beginners because it is safe or whatever. So I don't think that way. I think just it is. And I find it's useful in what I do, how I roll, and then I've taught this to our people in the gym, so we see benefits in there. So, but I guess people like to differentiate them. But a lot of the things come from, I guess, a bit of misunderstanding, and whatever videos people have seen randomly, or I would say it seems like a lot of people haven't taken the deep dive, or they have seen some earlier material, earlier videos, and that's why that one topic was that how my defensive structures hold against power rides, and like a Greg Jones style of passing when he pins the leg, and avoids the side control and stuff, but I feel like it's always bad to say like, you don't get it, you don't get it. It's I've rolled with some people who do that. One is I think Sven Groten. He's uses power rides, I guess, in his style, and he has actually said in Amsterdam seminar that he does them because of my defensive structures, because he doesn't want to go to side control having nothing. He wants to, stay there on the hips and get underhooks, maybe, get better control and then advance. That makes sense. And I think some other people also have tried, but I understand why they would say, then I think the comment was like, it doesn't work, and this is what I do all the time against people who play, let's say, running man, and they pin the legs and they, force belly down and then, choke them. So I could see it happening, and I would never say that nothing will happen or nobody will take my back ever, because what I do, I'm always saying like my job is to be aware why the back is taken, or make other people aware why the back is taken, so we can have a solution, because sport happens, things happen, and it's not like, oh, it's just defensive and it can't get through. If people fight, stuff happens, but it's more, yeah, like being aware and then getting to the level. I think what we also find that the structures, we have five of them at the moment. The five of they make they let people, how to say it, people look better when I put them in a structure, even with their, let's say, beginner, if they don't know much in certain like side control or whatever positions. If I put them in a structure, in that defensive structure, in a situation, they look better uh, compared to how less experienced they are. So I can already like get them going, and then they make it theirs, so to speak, so they don't have to discover certain things on their own. Structures does it for them, and then I guess they have to understand why it works and everything. So I find, and also like when I roll, whatever, we're blabbering here left and right, but when I use it, I need time against other black belts, and that's the one way to slow things down, using those structures. Give yourself a breathing time. And so, yeah, I have no clue how it ruins white belts. And I can understand that if white belts are not, let's say working with me or really getting that deep dive, and they just know one move, I know actually people that, like, let's say, only do running man, and I'm telling them like, this is not enough, you have to do them all, they all have their reasoning. And some people have taken like a bits, and they're playing with that, and then they run into problem, because maybe you need sitting turtle, maybe you need a turtle, maybe you need to move around, and they can't because, oh, I like this and I don't know how everything else works, so I think it's an interesting problem that people have picked up my stuff, and maybe they're not working with me directly, trying to figure it out on their own, and maybe they're beginners, and obviously them some higher belts. Those messages I get enough that somebody's a beginner, and then higher belts are telling people that don't do this, don't turn your back, and they have those conversations, and people want to talk them out of those things, because I guess also if you hire a belt and somebody beginner tries to do some of my stuff, maybe they get destroyed, and they get discouraged, and then obviously it's easier for like the higher belt say, oh, this is bullshit. They just take the back, and maybe they, even if they haven't checked what I do, they have their own opinion after that, and so it's a lot of, yeah, I agree that I also what you said, that people who I guess come to the seminars, or people I roll with or something, and there seems to be like a different mindset with them, that actually, let's say, know me and what I do, and I guess I also can attack. And then there's totally like a different online present, that people are watching it from outside, and like judging what I do based on the clips that are outside, that are that are purposely limited. I don't put everything out by purpose. And there's not much rolling videos of out. That's also, I'm always saying I'm trying to fix it, but I guess when I do, then I do. But people, I guess yeah. So me rolling with other people, if those videos will be out, maybe it will fix something, but probably the people will find something else to criticize. I don't mind that. So, and I always thought that me doing seminars or doing a lot of camps, 10 camps basically in a year, it would do a little bit, build a community that knows what I do, and that they can explain and they had firsthand experience and everything else. So that was my thing, that I was hoping that, I expose myself, I do camps, and obviously people see what I do, and then we don't have those Reddit things. But and also, I'm not into like proving Reddit wrong, because in a way I feel like, they don't matter, because it seems like I always say that if somebody's really interested of knowing what I do, let's do a Skype call, let's do a podcast, whatever. We can have like a non-professional talking through online, with some, easy software, and then we record it and put it publicly up to YouTube, like Reddit, and nobody has taken up that offer yet, and so I was like, yeah, let's do it. If you want to really know, I'm not going to debate you or explain everything in Reddit. It's not the easiest medium to talk through, because it's just draggy. And if you really want to know, I'm willing to talk. I'm not saying like I'm avoiding conversation. And nobody has taken that on. So that I find also strange, that if you're really interested, why wouldn't you do it, and that kind of shies me away a little bit of their opinion, or I'm not saying in a bad way they don't matter, but it's like, if you really want to dig in, I'm willing to talk about it, and if you're not, if you just want to be shallow and go, doesn't work. And just recently somebody says, like, in Reddit was, oh, tell me a person in high level who uses that, and then bro chip nobody, and some people came out like, Lachlan Giles has talked, that his back stuff was inspired also from what I do. His turtle stuff is inspired of what I do. And there's other people also have said that, and then, I didn't, I haven't checked today, but then obviously there was no answer to that, because I guess he hasn't checked out Lachlan, and other people haven't seen all the videos that other people have seen. So it's a lot of stuff like, oh, who does this in a high level, And yeah, it's interesting, like a puzzle. So I kind of left it alone a little bit. The Reddit stuff, I just see what they do, and I guess I share the topics and see how it goes. I rarely say something, because I don't see a point. It goes wild really fast, because one guy actually came from Netherlands. He came a year ago, I think. He came to the gym here where I was doing this, giving my information out. And he was coming from Netherlands, some other reasons from Finland also, but also he came to my classes. And he talked about his experience and what happened, and he was really happy. He was very skeptical first, and he was really happy afterwards. And then, I don't know, after 10 posts, that Reddit topic went to shit again, Nothing works, Priit is an asshole, and then it's like, but that guy's topic wasn't about that. So I also feel that there's I don't think it's only their problem. I think it's also what I've done, like a personality thing, a little bit like, how I guess I'm blunt, or how whatever. So a certain way that Preet is an asshole. Preet is like not nice. He's something something, and then that also seems to agitate people. And because a lot of times it's like, okay, technique, but he's an asshole. Sometimes his technique is bad. And like there was some like they were comparing my turtle to Greg Jones turtles. He also stands up these days, and that's kind of funny actually. And then somebody said, yeah, I prefer much Greg Jones because he's way nicer or something, and Priest is an asshole, or something. And so And there seems to be something about that. So that is really, really, I guess I understand it, but it's really weird that um, certain offensive layer is there also, that people have that towards me. And I like, it's so strong, so to speak. And yeah, it's already Reddit is an interesting conundrum, so to speak. The word I learned recently to pronounce conundrum. And we'll see what comes out of it. I don't think it's completely bad. And I guess we wanted to do this podcast to talk about a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. But so that's my my intro, blabbering about it. So you can guide the conversation now.
No, it's fine. No, I a few points there. So there's like, I have said this to you before. I think there's definitely I won't say like a translation issue. But I remember we had the conversation 4 years ago in Heidelberg after I did Defend Everything, where we were talking about how are we going to relate when it comes to information, and I said I'm just not as detail heavy as you are. Like your deep diving into the mechanics isn't me. Never will be. But when it comes to the holistic reasoning behind things, that's kind of my bag. And so when you put them together, it's like a Power Rangers Megazord. It becomes super powerful. And so I understand like why you're doing it. I understand why people get annoyed at it. So I obviously get some feedback on the defensive postures, etc. And the main feedback I get is, "Oh, I'm now surviving higher belts." And I've had some hilarious kind of conversations with people. I've actually done privates with people where they said, I'm using the postures, but how am I now supposed to get out and attack these people? And occasionally they'll get me. I'm like, okay, well, what level are you? Oh, blue belt. And what level are the people who are getting you? Oh, they're brown belts. I'm like, so I'm confused as to the problem here. Like, you're saying that the brown belts are giving you a hard time, and they're the only ones. Okay. And again, it's one of the things that you have said previously at my school, for example, is that when you're a white belt and you have no idea why you're dying, it's upsetting at jiu-jitsu. And usually if you're chucked into sparring and there are higher belts, you're just going to kick your ass kicked. But on a larger scale, to say that, who at a high level uses what you do? Everyone. Like, the difference is that it's very much blended into jiu-jitsu. To say that, because we deny people access to the armpit space. That's one of the things, and we have strong postures. You're taught to shrimp. I went to a Ryan Hall seminar 13 years ago, and he even said control is based upon who inhabits the space between the other person's knees and armpits. And so the whole thing about Running Man and Turtle was just a purified version of that to highly express the ideas. I mean, you can fight open eventually. You have said this before. You can, once you understand the reasoning why you're doing it, you can choose it. But, taking it to the boxing analogies you've heard before, you've said before, is that usually people are fighting with their hands down and they're just getting punched in the face. And then you literally explain to them, right, you want to put your hands up then. And then it's very clunky when you first start learning that in boxing. You put your hands up and your attacks and your defense are disjointed, and you can end up just covering up and getting whomped on a little bit. But that's what happens. That it starts to become more of the game. And I think the saltiest tears when it comes to online detractors are, oh yeah, but they're just holding this position, you can't get them. Well, probably because your attacks are shit. Like, if you can't, like, if someone's covering their face and you're going, well, I can't hit you anymore. Well, it's because your attacks are shit. Like, I don't have that problem. If any of the students are playing those positions, or if I go to a gym where people have learned these things, never had a problem because I'm used to attacking those gaps. I'm not gifted them, that you pass someone's guard and just get gifted side control. You have to fucking earn it. You've said it before, like, just because you pass my legs doesn't mean you pass my guard. You have to earn my armpits. Yes. And so, we went through a 6-month period of depression, of we couldn't find anything because we realized our attacks were weak. Like, we could do regular jiu-jitsu attacks. We were finding side control relatively easy after guard. We then get introduced to the idea of maybe don't give up your armpits so easily. And like, crap, didn't think of that one. We then went through a 6-month period of not finding shit on anyone. But over time, you learn to become a more efficient hunter. And there are people, you watch any video of like Rafa Mendes or any of these people, they block, someone going behind the knees. They block, they keep their knees close to their armpits to try and, grilled chicken open guard was based on Braulio. I said the hilarious part is because I'm not far from his gym. Occasionally, some people of his lineage will get lost and end up in mine, and they go, "What guard are you doing? Like, I can't beat your open guard." It's like, it's your coaches. I got it via Soviet VHS over here. How don't you know it? So
Yeah. So, well, I'm also written something down. It's like we also talked about, who it's for. Is it advanced or stuff? I guess you hear also Danaher or whatever people talking about. Yeah, beginners need defense. That's this is typical Reddit stuff also. And beginners need to be like, advocating defense. You should spend like first white blue belt should be defense. And when the fun part is when they're so defensive, then other Reddit topics come up. No, you can't be offensive. You have to also attack back. And it's like, then I'm always like, which way is it now? Because I guess the point is, the claim is I am, creating stallers. And it kind of goes to what you said. I guess if you shut down really early and then, you don't give them anything, it's a little bit denying the social game, that is jiu-jitsu, that, why you're shutting down and it's so annoying to roll with you. So I understand that reasoning also. And I guess it's a little bit about how the role spirit is. If it's a fight, then I can do whatever I want. It's really like equal fight. I shut down, I deny everything. Is it a playful? Is it like somebody's better? Are we equal level? Is it smaller, bigger, same level? So I really think that, beginners should concentrate the first years, whatever, white and blue belt. It goes on. I think it should be going to black belt forever. But definitely beginners, so they're not getting submitted so easily, so they can stay into game. And as soon as beginners get less submittable or harder submit, higher belts find rolling with them really, really inspiring, because usually I know that higher belts are avoiding, let's say they're bored rolling with white belts, like beginners, let's say, who give them everything. You can do anything to them. It's like too easy, they want a challenge. And but if already like beginners are holding, their armpits, whatever, they know what they're doing defensively. Of course, they cannot attack back because they're not there yet. So their job is to not to get submitted and maybe stay under side control forever, that being back on the mat or maybe in turtles, whatever. And so then higher belts will find rolling with beginners way more interesting. That I know that from experience in my gym. And then beginners get exposed to better jiu-jitsu because they're rolling with better people that find them interesting. So they get exposed to better jiu-jitsu. They will mimic better jiu-jitsu because they're rolling also a lot with higher belts. And then they get better faster. Other way, if no higher belts wants to roll with them, then they roll amongst themselves and they don't see that much good jiu-jitsu. They're going to mimic each other. So I really find that we have to make beginners really, really like acceptable for higher belts. I'm not saying it's it's everybody like this, but I think people understand what I mean, and it's not wrong to say that. And so that's one reason why you should have it, And obviously you want to attack back, but first you're not there yet if you're rolling with higher belts. because if they're better, they have to force things, not wait for maybe beginner open up and they just have an easy armbar. So, and I would say if beginners want to learn how to like attack, if you are in a perfect situation like a middle of food chain, you have somebody that are more beginner than you, then you train your escapes, getting to whatever the offensive cycle, the term actually I don't like. You do it on other beginners. Let's say if you're a blue belt, let's say rolling with brown belt, and you're surviving, but you can't attack back. Oh, that should be obvious. That's already a good win. That if you give a brown belts a good fight, you should feel good about that. I guess also agree that brown belts would have to find better attacks. I agree with that. But so a blue belt, if that blue belt wants to develop attacks or even escapes, but let's say maybe he can survive, but he can't escape against that brown belt, then you develop that escape against white belts. You roll with them. You also play the defensive stuff, so white belts could attack. They're sloppy at first, so you have easier times getting out. You develop that false positive. And then you climb the ladder, take a better, like a white belt, take a heavier white belt, take a lighter blue belt. Those might all sound like a perfect situations, but maybe you're not in that privilege that you have different partners. So then you can also rig the game a bit. But most likely, you should use lesser skilled people or create a situation for yourself where even people that are equal to you cannot fully expose their will on you with certain constraints, and you can still do it, get false positive, and then move up. So I get that question actually a lot, that the people like, oh, I don't know how to escape. I don't know how to escape from turtle. And in a way, I put out the defensive BJJ already, like escaping techniques. We're talking about the reverse underhook, the ghost escape. There's a lot of information, and I will keep doing that. And earlier years, people blamed me of not putting escapes out. Why don't you Priit show any escapes? And then my answer was from the goodness of my heart is like, I don't care about escapes. That is, in a way, that is not part of my research. And I'm just doing this to find out the structures and how to escape from them. I really don't care. And I found it very troubling how many people that actually asked me that question, Preet, how to escape from them? It's like, have you tried? First of all, that's many people are like, yeah, but not really, but I wanted you to tell me something. Okay, take a beginner and escape. I don't believe that if you have done jiu-jitsu 6 months and somebody's done it for a month and you're telling me you can't do escape on them, just try the pull guard. Maybe it doesn't work right away. Go back to the turtle, try again. And I'm sure you figure it out. There's no like a pure technique, so to speak. There's different ways because the situation is always adapting and changing. We have a like idea how to pull guard. So have you tried against lesser skilled people or lesser weight people, again, maybe your level? And I'm surprised how many times I hear the answer, oh, haven't done that. And again, I found like against their own kind or even higher, they have harder time escaping. I was like, this is reality. You should have harder time escaping against your kind and higher belts. And why do you wish that you could just escape by will against them? That's why they're better. So you against them, you have your job, and then you try to climb the ladder. And against beginners, I'm a good example of playing defense against beginners that are people that are not in my level, so to speak. I don't even what my level is. It sounds like I'm in like some godly level, but uh, you know I can hold my own. But I do a lot of times this defense and escape against people that are lighter or less skilled than me, and that's how I develop things. I use a lot of times purple belts, yeah, because they're feisty, they know shit, and they can punish the mistakes. Maybe if I explore certain things, so I get really quick, nice feedback, what to do, what not to do, and then I continue. So that method seems to be, I'm not saying nobody does it, but that seems to be like that I'm always telling people, and they're always like, I never thought about that. I was like, how do you train? You should train with lesser skilled people more than half of your time, because you want to develop attacks, you need lesser skilled people, and you want to develop escapes, you need lesser skilled people. And then maybe 30%, 35, whatever it is, you train with your kind, and then maybe 20, 50% you roll with higher belts. Because other than that, you want to be in a learning process and you want to be in a learning mood. And that's mostly happens when you train with beginners, I would say even 50, 60% of the time. And that's when you develop skill and you're not fighting all the time. And you can do the escapes, submission escapes, position escapes. You can dominate if you want, develop submissions. So that's also somehow, I feel, very new to people when I say it. They're like, no, but what do you mean training with beginners? How do I get good? You know? I was like, you have to try shit first, you know? And then climb up and earn that and then do it against your kind. How do? You want to do right away perfect technique from the first try? It's like, no, nothing happens like this. You will mess it up. You don't know stuff, so it has to be dirty. And that's where you need beginners that you can do like that dirty technique against and still recover because they're less skilled, and then you climb the ladder. So that is also, I find, like very strange. And I actually talk about it a lot privately with people, and this is how I get good all the time, and I develop my stuff. And so again, that's how it's recommend when somebody asks, how do I do escapes, or that is the very good method, and I've used it myself. I've seen it, people use it, and it's one of the best ways. So that's the answer usually towards those, the blue belt against brown belt, and then like you said, they should be enjoying that brown belt has hard time submitting them, and they can survive. They can't attack back, so it's not even fight. They shouldn't be like, oh, I was doing good with brown belt. It should be realistically that also the criticism has been like towards what I do, that, oh, people consider not losing a win, after rolling with, let's say, higher belts or something. People always try to put words in my mouth, but I know also, like, I'm trying to be very careful what I say. And I know some people have said, "Oh, Preet, guys say this." I have never heard Preet say it, but Preet guys say it like this, because I guess if you, in a way, it means something when blue belt survives a brown belt. It means it's not gonna mean, oh, I won the fight, but it means something. So it has to be taken in the right context. That blue belt survived, the brown belt had a hard time. And now it's not about the brown belt to tell a blue belt, no, 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 you need to open up. You can't shell like this because, they want to feel better about themselves, that, I know it's a social game, but also the fight is not even because you're a brown belt, he's a blue belt. So you as a brown belt, you are dominating and you have to create opportunities. So stop smashing him, give him opportunities to escape and try to counter, when they try something. Obviously, if you just smash, they can't do anything. They shell. They're doing this by balancing the game out, by shutting more down, the more aggressive you are. So if you want to actually have a social game, I get really irritated by this because the always higher belts say that, oh, they're beginners, you're shutting down. No, you're saying they should open up. No, social game is because you're better. You should know how to play with lesser skilled people. Is it like I'm a new father? If I play with my kid, do I kick his ass? You know? Is it like my job to just dominate my 2-year-old kid, and just show I'm better? And then, no. I will let him, like, I'm in Mount Bottom, I'm rolling with him, I'm like, I can't get out, you're dominating, I'm teaching my kid jiu-jitsu a bit. But I'm playing with him because that's his level, I'm not gonna dominate him. So that is extreme, like an example. But then brown belts and higher belts, they should know how to roll with lesser skilled people, and that means don't dominate so much, equal up the level, maybe less pressure so they can, fight back. They can try stuff because if you put pressure on, they shut down. And I usually recommend Also, people that you can control the aggression by, if they're really trying to go after you, you shut more down because you are the one that is lesser skilled. So that's their job as a to figure out how to play a social game. That is not your job. Then you're being dominated totally, and they tell you, "Oh, open up because you have to escape." No, you don't. You know. So I think that the discussion is totally rigged towards the higher belts, and I hear it all the time, and I really, really disagree with that. And obviously it's a fight and stuff, and then we play, but I don't feel that kind of version. It's also in a discussion there. And I hear all, yeah, oh, they're shutting down and it's super annoying to roll with them, and they consider it a win. No, you have to know how to roll with people who are developing that are and trying to optimize the role, so to speak, that they want to also get a good feeling out of that, not get destroyed like every 6 seconds. So that is one usually that Reddit stuff that kind of comes out, and that you see kind of triggers me. So next one.
I think it's quite funny is I think the analogy you just gave about not beating up children is, I think I said the exact same thing to you in Heidelberg, where I was using the analogy that I use it in class and I use it on this podcast. So anyone who's heard what Priit just said and like recognizes it, like down a shot, is in any say I've got a 9-year-old son, and if I was trying to teach him how to play football in goal, I have a choice. I can either blast the ball through his little body, he ain't gonna learn anything. I can chip the ball over his head. Fuck him. He's only 4 foot something. He ain't gonna catch it. Or I can just kick it off the field. Fuck him. I don't want to play with it. Or because there's an adult and child dynamic, there's a power dynamic. I can kick the ball at the goal at a level that he may or may not save it. And if I do that, he will get better over time. But that is up to me. I'm the one with the power. I have to choose the right path. I have to do the right thing for him. I can't just chip it over him or kick the ball away. He has to be able to learn, but I also just can't blast the ball at him and kill him. And that's the same with all these dynamics. And Rob Bianacchi, who was on this a few months ago, I love what he said, is that for most people, their main form of competition is their own gym. In that there's that league, considering we have this, we're all on the same team, Team Eston or Team Fighting Fit. But then, we go to competitions and support each other. But as soon as we get back in the gym, it's like, oh, fuck you all. Like, I'm keeping myself on the hierarchy today. And so when you have a brown belt looking at a blue belt, etc., you're like, well, you're lower on the hierarchy. And when that gets tested, because they may have a higher defense for some reason, it's a problem. And I think another aspect of it is, I heard this as well when I was a brown belt, is I was rolling with a black belt at one of the Globetrotters camps. It must have been about year 1 after, because we've known each other for 6 years now, 6 glorious years. And I was rolling with a black belt who I was, doing the defensive postures. I was shelling up. I was using running man turtle, then getting out and ankle locking repeatedly. And so he didn't get anything on me, and I survived all his attacks. He was a very good black belt. And his main criticism of me was, you're not fighting from the bottom. You're being defensive. But you're not fighting me back. And I'm like, it's not my job to. Like, it's not my job to give you controls and then try and fight back from a disadvantaged position, as a lower belt especially. You're on top of me. Why would I give you gaps? Fucking earn them. If you can't find them, fucks to be you. And I'll then find my opportunities to come out and get you back. But I think that's one of the cultish, religious aspects of jiu-jitsu sometimes, is this idea that a person in a disadvantaged state, like guard, on their back or whatever, can beat a bigger person who's on top. Bollocks. Lies. It's marketing nonsense, perpetuated from the history of jiu-jitsu. We do our best to survive from the bottom. Like, hopefully we've got a better skill level than the person on top. But no way you want to fight off your back. That's a bad idea. You want to be able to survive. You've made a poor choice. If that white belt's on the floor, it means they got fucked up at some point. They're on the floor. If they were winning, they were on top. Um, so now they're on the floor. They're losing in this fight in every situation, and now they have to survive. And one of those initial introductions I give to all this when someone joins is that, right, here are some things that are going to keep you entirely safe. If you do this perfectly, if you just keep closed down, doesn't matter who it is, we won't get you. But over time, you will start to leave these postures to start attacking. But you now have a framework of, you feel what defense is. You know what safety feels like. It's now your choice of when you do or do not use it. Sometimes you may not use the posture and you'll get murdered. Cool. Then you have information. Don't do that next time. But sometimes you may use the posture, do something that doesn't get you murdered. Cool. But you know if anything goes wrong, where you need to come back to. And that's maybe the missing link, is that we have these pitch battles in jiu-jitsu. There's a lack of objectivity a lot of the time. Like we have the guard battle, we have the side control battle, and then someone just throws a spanner in the works and goes, actually, fuck you. You're not allowed to enter into that position on me. And it's like, whoa, that's not fair. Like, we're supposed to have the battle of side control where I'm trying to submit you while I have your head and your arm, and you're going to try and do your best to survive, like, and fight back from this horrible crushing face position. Like, how's that make any fucking sense? But it's the wider jiu-jitsu narrative. And okay, yeah, like, some people say that not getting submitted means you didn't lose. Well, no, I understand, like, if someone's on top of you, you're definitely losing, because any other scenario, like in competitive BJJ, MMA, self-defense, being on the bottom definitely isn't a good idea. But that's up to a bigger discussion, is that, well, why is this person on the bottom in the first place? It means they've already lost in some way. Now they're just not trying to lose further. Because if they went into regular side control or got stuck in mount, they're definitely losing. They're definitely getting their head kicked in. And it's this kind of like where your work kind of sits in that kind of pocket is, you can have the wider conversation that, okay, well, if you have really, really good balance and posture, and you've done a lot of wrestling, you won't get taken down in the first place, rendering everything that you say mute, because you wouldn't have to use running man or anything like that if you never went to the floor in the first place. Cool. Well, maybe teach that to beginners. But if they get taken down because someone has thrown them to the ground, and they've got no guard because they're goddamn new beginners, and they get their guard passed, then they have something to survive. Is that a bad thing? They are given, and again, like, a lot of your work has really exploded in defensive BJJ over the past 3 years. I've been here for 6. By and large, I don't use it anymore. I don't use running man or turtle, like as they are prescribed. But I have a full respect and understanding for why they are there and the gaps, and that could be a lot more freeform. I think you've said it before, is that, or I've said it and we've both said it, is that if you put your hands down in MMA or boxing, that's a choice. But you have to know how to put your hands up in the first place. If you want to put your hands down and expose your chin, have at it. But do you know how to cover your chin? If you don't know how to cover your chin and you're just putting your hands down, expect to get hit.
Also, I don't want to defend, Priit guys. I guess people can be abusive with that, because it leads to other topic also, but I've written down a little bit. But I don't think it's all, those brown belts, because you have to know how to use it, and it could be like maybe somebody's equally rolling and they're abusing that. It's just, even if they could escape, they're not, and I understand that point. So also what my message is, I guess, is I'm doing my research, and I was maybe even narrowly focused earlier years when we did this, when it's just only structures, and I actually didn't care about escape so much because we were trying to find out something else, and my interest wasn't there. And escaping information is obviously out there in YouTube, and you can find it, that wasn't my job to like show how, because it's there. Structure weren't there, so that was interesting to find out. And obviously, there's people maybe that can abuse and just shut down and that's not doing anything. And that's also like, you have to understand against who you do it. And maybe it's a stage also against your own kind. You do it. But then I guess the message is also that don't abuse it. I guess I always said that, whatever. So it's never been my goal to just, okay, we're two blue belts and one shuts down and one is like, I don't know how to do anything. I think it's fun to test certain period against your own peers that are your level, that can I hold it against them? It's a good test. But if you just roll this way all the time and don't improve and don't play with beginners to improve your escaping, and then try to escape against your own level using that structure also, then I guess, you would be like, you can do it, I don't mind, but also you will have repercussions, that people stop enjoying roll with you because you are in that you are in their level, and then maybe you just can't break through and you're not also escaping. So it's a tool, and you can, I guess, overuse it. And just also that's my message, that if you test it, oh, it works. I survive also my own kind, and maybe it's harder to survive brown belts, but and then go to beginners, develop escapes, go test it on your own level. If it works, it works. Climb higher. So it should be always the research, but also, I guess, enjoy it against also your own peers, but and in some amount of time, because they really, if you use it extensively against your own peers, they have time to adapt. Because first, maybe it's annoying, maybe they haven't seen it, then you do it, it's like, ah, shit, But if you do it more against them, I actually recommend it more, because now they have time to adapt, and maybe in passing, get some control before you shut down. And I think their attacks will get sharper if they understand what the shapes are, postures. And but if they're adapted already, I don't know how long that takes, who knows. And if they're adapted, then move on, try to force escapes, then they fail, go back to the structure, try again. So you have to, I guess, use it also in the right way. And sometimes some people figure it out how to attack them, and some people have to be told that why you're doing them and how to, maybe what to look for, because maybe they can't figure it out. So yeah, so that's also my message, that it's the tool. And that usually leads to a lot of the main question. I don't know, maybe it's a main, I consider it main, like why I'm so invested to defense. I know somebody brought my name up in a Firas Sahabi podcast like a year ago or something, and I was surprised that he has seen my things. And his comment was also, I think, like in a lines of, yeah, but you need also attacks. And I was like, yeah. So, and I guess the message is also a little bit in Reddit, like why I'm so invested. And just got asked that question in a beach camp this year in summer. And people are like, why do you do so much defense? And then I roll with that person. I said, look, okay, try to do stuff to me. And then they tried, and I really concentrated, and I held my own, and I tried to do my best. And they were like, that's why, because I couldn't get anything. I was like, yeah, this is what I can do. And this pushes your attacks become way, way better, because you're used to getting things, and now I'm denying you things. And they had really hard time with me, and they were like, oh shit, yeah. And I like, if you are doing this and then you don't get pinned so often, I guess, and then you can fight back from bad positions, to go to offensive cycles, faster, because you're not getting crushed. And he was like, yeah, if the defense is good, you can attack way better because you're more fearless. I was like, exactly. So why is it hard to understand why you need defense? Because everybody talks about it, defense. And like higher people, no, Roger Gracie, always defense. But I don't know, the message is always lost, that people don't hear it. And and again, a lot of good matches are, people attack, good guys are attacking, so maybe the good guys, they don't use so much defense. But so my pseudo answer is always like they're fearless because they're good defense. Watch Jeff Glover. He turns his back in any occasion he can, and then he's fearless, and he can do whatever he wants after that because your guard example is you can be way more aggressive in a guard when you have very, very good side control survival. Your guard doesn't even have to, you don't have to even learn new submissions or sweeps. You just do the previous one better because you're not afraid to take risks because you have a plan B. So it's like a defense is really interesting dichotomy that it's good to not use it actually. If you're not using it, it's good because that means if you attack all the time, and then obviously defense is what you have, and then people don't see defense, and then they see why you need defense because you're always attacking. But it's a little bit like a dichotomy of my good defense actually allows me to take risks and attack you that way and put pressure on you. And my defense is actually deeper. Not my, best defense is our offense. But if I get bad position, I know that depth is there, and I get out. And so that's why defense is really weird that a lot of people don't see it. And then when I emphasize it so much, and they go like, "Yeah, who uses that? All the good guys are just attacking all the time." I was like, "Yeah, because they have a good defense." So that sounds like a little bit like a trick answer. But it is also true in that context, yeah. And so why I'm also defense heavy is I like it. I never advocate that you should roll the way I roll. I'm the message that also is being lost that I'm doing research. Yeah. I'm doing research to find out. And that's why I'm so invested in it. I'm not advocating people roll like me because clearly my game is so tilted towards developing one side of the skill, so I don't develop my guards and attacks so much. They're actually getting better because I understand more defense also, but I guess if I would invest time, they will get faster, better, but they get better still. And so my research is to find out all about defense, early one, late one, middle one, whatever. And so I, as a coach, would have a better answer for my people. And that's like literally what I do. And obviously you need attacks. I never said you don't. That's like that's even silly to assume that I'm not aware of that. I would be that dumb after 23 years in jiu-jitsu. But I don't care about that. So I have a niche research. Other people are studying attacks. Let them do it. My research is there. And people misunderstand that is like this is how I promote rolling and this is the way you should roll. Like I said, I never said that. And I'm really interested, like in all honesty, like all aspects of defense, the structures, the denial, the mid-range and late range and submission defenses, how to stay in submissions, the longest, and then even in the longest that the attacker will quit and open up submissions, because we have evidence of that in matches and stuff. Some people can't finish, and I want to mimic that. I want to find out. And I guess that has created a misunderstanding that this is what I promote and why defense, why so much. And I guess other people can take what is useful, from my work, whatever, and use also offense if they want, obviously. But that is like I'm trying to be always like very blunt about it. This is what I do, and I find it's very, very hard for people to understand my commitment to that niche. And I'm always like, but you find I guess I'm not calling myself a scientist per se. What I guess I'm using scientific process as much as I understand it, whatever, testing at everything and, accepting the results and changing and everything about that. I'm not academic. And but I always say like you have specialized research in academia, in different fields. People just study narrow fields, and nobody's saying like, no, 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 this is you. Why doing this? No, you can find out, and they're specialists, you know. And why is that not accepted? And I find, that is the resistance I always meet, that why you're so invested and why you're so specialized, of course, why don't you develop attacks? I was like, I don't have time for that. Uh, Other people are doing that. Other people are developing leg locks and, all the transitions and everything. I'm invested in that. So I don't know how to say it better, that the message will go through. And that's, I find, I get that question a lot, all the time, like, and it's only defense. No, 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 guys, you need also attack. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. So why is that so difficult, and why that specific route is like hard to accept? Because I guess I can do it. That actually keeps me ticking also in jiu-jitsu, because I've done it 23 years. It is boring. Jiu-jitsu is boring, and that research keeps me ticking, gives me purpose. I wake up in the morning, I want to do it. I want to have new thoughts to test. And I'm still, even till this day, I'm coming up new ideas about side control bottom. Actually, it happened like a week ago. I will test it here in Finland right now. I guess I asked during the break, I asked some people. I've tested already outside Estonia, and this is interesting what I can do inside dominant positions like a crossface underhook, and what I do, and I still find out new ideas to test in side control. And I'm fascinated by it, because I have to turn over every stone, every idea, you know, and I'm getting really deep. I'm also sometimes getting lost in there, but I like it. I feel like I understand, and I have like some drive in me, and I want to solve the problem, because I think compared to how much some upper body things and leg locks and even leg lock defense are advanced, I still feel the upper body side of jiu-jitsu, like positional defense and stuff, they're not at the same level. They're not studied at the same level as even like leg locks or submissions, whatever. And I don't know why is it. I think it's still, we're a little bit like 80s. We're flat, having our frames, and everything. There's way more things we can do, and I wanna give I wanna be a part of that. I wanna give my input. I wanna change that. I wanna make it better, because as my experience, I know that it can be different. And then I see, YouTube, we still teach, bridging and shrimping as a main thing, usually as side control. I was like, I've held people down with crossface underhook, and I've told them bridge now, and they can't. And I was like, yeah, but we're teaching white belts bridge and shrimp, and now if I had a resistance in that crossface underhook grip, I just add a little bit pressure, you can't do it. And so why we're telling this to white belt? I did that also as a coach in the beginning, and then when somebody couldn't escape, I told try harder. That was like stupid answer. But now we know that we were stuck, and we should not give them that, and we should already do this and that. So um, I see the problem. So and yeah, so I'm really deeply invested into that, and maybe this kind of talking about it maybe explains something, and maybe people have some follow-up questions. But I find it's for very, very hard time to understand for people my commitment to that side.
Being as someone who has played this for, let's say, 6 years, and um, as much as it's a joke, being a dictator and making sure that everyone follows it in the gym and giving no one a choice, is that good defense breeds better offense. Has been like the one. I've visited your gym. I've been to Estonia. I've been to your previous location. Haven't been to Estom yet. How weird. I haven't been to Estonia since 2019.
Yeah, you've been avoiding that.
I haven't been invited. I'm not going to turn up uninvited.
Also true. Also true.
You're never there, and I'm not invited.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not going to come to Estonia. But rolling at your gym, like everyone's hyper aggressive. Like they attack with meaning. You know, I've rolled with Lisi. I've rolled with a lot of your black belts and brown belts and purple belts, and they are aggressive. I also hear that a lot about my students is, oh, Fighting Fit's quite an aggressive gym. Yeah, we're the defensive bunch. And it's because that whole, I say, objectivity moment of it is that better defense will breed better offense. But if you're the outlier in the gym and you're the only person doing it, it's going to feel weird. If you're the only person just playing a defensive posture and everyone else can't really get their head around what the hell this person is doing. But when it's across the board, like, you know, one of my prime directives right now is not playing guard. Like, I will not allow you to fall over. And then you suddenly realize, holy shit, what I thought I knew about sweeps is terrible. Because when someone has good defense and doesn't fall over, you suddenly realize how poor your attacks really are. And then there's that catch-up period of, right, okay, well, if we're all doing this, if we're all uniform good defense, our attacks have to catch up to this defense now. And give it 6 months, and all of a sudden, those attacks become hyper-aggressive. And a prime example is your armbar escape. Is that, you know, if you just lie on the floor and no one can, you know, if the defense isn't good to an armbar, then you think your arm bars are good. Then if you have someone do a good reverse hitchhiker, good defense, you suddenly realize, oh shit, my arm bars are terrible. Like, my ability to latch onto the shoulder, my control over this is dog shit. Exactly. Like, if everyone looks good if the defense is awful. But again, I think it's maybe some issues in the meta of how jiu-jitsu is taught is it's always a positive action. That there has to be a doing part of the drill. Like, this is the move we're doing to escape this. Instead of do nothing. Here's a safety position. And, you know, I've obviously taught around this and shown the defensive postures. It's just wrestling. Like, covering your armpits and having a good posture, not letting someone behind your head and stuff like that, and denying underhooks. It's wrestling. Like, running man, it's just an upright wrestling position. Yet we're not arguing that. We're not saying, oh, you should let people do a double leg on you and then fight from it. That sounds mental. Like, you deny these things, and then the attacks have to get better. You have to find the sport. You have to find the window to actually attack, because you're not just gifted terrible defense. It's really easy to take down people who have terrible upright posture. You come across someone who's got a good upright posture. Yeah, it's difficult. And again, that's, you know, I understand the frustration of people looking at what you do and thinking, well, he doesn't do anything else. Yeah, well, he's just researching this. Is that a problem? And again, I see some of those discussions like, oh yeah, but how would he survive against Craig Jones? Most elite black belts can't survive Craig Jones. What makes you think a 46-year-old Estonian's going to survive Craig Jones?
I will. Yeah, it's always bad when, you know, the argument, I guess I call it a God argument that, oh, you know, somebody actually, I think, again, Reddit, I think somebody said, oh, you know, Gordon Ryan will destroy you, you know? Yes. So you can't really bring a God argument to the conversation, and then the whole YouTube has to be taken down, you know, like nobody can show any techniques because it wouldn't work on Gordon Ryan, or Gordon Ryan would just destroy you. So that is a God argument, and after that the adult conversation is over, you know. So, and yeah, like, you know, a high level, and the high level is I think it's like a nice guide, but people say, oh, do what they do in high level. It's a good guideline in a way, but also a lot of things, you know, let's say who does it in a high level, whatever. I think it's somewhat like a flawed argument because it weeds also out what works. Yeah. And then you really have to see, like I've seen Oliver Taza example do a lot of good defensive things, even like a running manish, and, you know, And there was the clips when he defended Mika Calvao back takes and really using, the crunches and stuff with Hawkins and everything. I'm not saying, I just can explain it with what I know. I'm not saying he did my stuff, so to speak. So there is plenty of, let's say, enough evidence in high level that how this might work, and but people can't find patterns because there was one back survival highlight of some Brazilian guy. I can find out. I'm not good in names, and somebody made a back survival highlight of one guy going through a bracket and doing the defensive, not my stuff in that sense. Just he was very good in defense. He was avoiding back controls and stuff, and finally got like a title also. And but somebody made a highlight of his defensive things, and then those patterns are really easy to recognize. If he does small things here, one thing there, and there's long enough a break, you don't recognize the pattern anymore. So it's like always, who does those things in high level? So that's always really like a really, I think, sloppy argument always to say, and like a lazy argument. Like I understand what they mean, kind of like discredit me, like or defensive stuff. Who uses that? Yeah, defensive things are being used all the time in a high level. It's hard to recognize the pattern in a heat of the moment because most likely also you're not watching a defender. Sometimes you're watching also attacker a lot of times. So you don't see what the defender actually does. So certain like highlights will show that. And I'm not saying people are doing my stuff or something. So I'm saying I see what people do and I try to explain it as better as I can. And that's why we have, the certain structures, certain things. And I'm trying to explain what I see. And also, I guess, add to it. Maybe I discover something and then also make it work. But a lot of the things I've seen, clearly Turtle I always said that, like, Turtle has been inspired by Eduardo Telles, It's sad that we have so few Turtle players, but he was clearly one of the best. There's others also, people have pointed out to me, but we could have army of them, but because we don't teach it, and somehow Telles is really good at it, but we could easily uplift that skill, and sport becomes better. Because if somebody is good in leg lock defense and it goes around, now everybody's slipping heels. They said like most likely it was like Danaher people were slipping heels and nobody else could in the early days, but now everybody's slipping heels. So it's like Telles is doing turtle. We need more people doing Telles turtle or whatever the functional turtle. So and turning your back, Telles was clear proof that turning your back can be efficient. And it's not always equal back takes. Obviously, I think he lost one time to Galvao, and there's some losses in his record. But also, I think he took Peña's back even in some Nogi fight in a Nogi Worlds, I think. So a lot of the stuff he does it's very high level. And then I think the flawed argument is, oh, it's only one guy. But it's one guy with 100 matches, That also counts for something, So, and sometimes people want to discredit Telles. Oh, it's only one guy and only he does it, and like why everybody else is not doing that, what Telles does. That is a totally different discussion. And I don't think it's even hard to find out that, because if you go to, let's say, this is sounds very blunt. If you go to average gym, I want to see how much they teach like a good turtle, They're most likely not spending like a crazy amount of time developing defense being in turtle, So Telles spent enough time playing that because of, the way he's built, and also because of Terere, obviously. That's the story that I've been told, that they're fight. But I think they had that before their skills, and but he was developing and using that against Terere also. And if you compare what gyms are teaching, that's been it's not a fact, but that's been told to me, that if you consider average gym, they're most likely gonna teach guard, guard passing, obviously from De La Rivas and all the crazy gi guards, and then sometimes it's like like submissions and stuff, and then sometimes it's defense, and that's the sometimes it defense is the problem. Yeah, we it's so triggered towards like passing, playing guard, and let's say maybe even attacks from side, whatever, from the back, bow and arrow, and then they show you, oh, defense is this, and then it's maybe one technique, and it's not even nearly like comparable how much we have figured out all the guard sequences, grip sequences, how much it's developed, it's how much is it's ahead, and compared to how much is missing from defense, how much is not developed at the same degree as even crazy guard passing or side control. You would easily find like a open guard passing and playing videos, and then defense is, I'm flat, I will do this escape, and there's some ideas, and then that's it. There's more depth to that. Why we're showing escapes, crossface underhook, and this is side control escape. Why side control escape isn't like baseline would be, they have nothing, they have the body control, I'm there. So certain standards and mindset is also, I think it's missing a little bit. What is considered side control? Why it's not considered like turtle is the like default position even, and after that it's side control. Turtle is gonna world between the worlds. So there's a lot of stuff, I think, if you really would start to like look honestly about how we do things. And I also think that, you see like they're not done right, so to speak. And I think it's time management also. You do what gives you the biggest bang of the buck. So you teach attacks. Yeah, you teach passing. I think also against the good guys, I think that's the stuff you see the most. If people are equal, you play more passing, more guard, and then when somebody is better, I guess, or something, they can dominate, then more dominant positions happen. And but I think it's time management. I think you teach in a regular class what gives the, I don't know, biggest bang of the buck, so to speak. And if I teach maybe defense, then the worry might be that, oh, you need to know how to attack, so to speak. But I think it's actually other way, in a way that if you teach people good defense, they might figure out the attacks by themselves because they have freedom to explore, because they're not getting stuck. I've seen it also happen. I'm not saying it's the best way, but I'm saying that people maybe see it in a way that doesn't, maybe, oh, we're not doing like 50% defense in our class. It's usually like less than 20 whatever if you consider defense. So, and that's why people have hard time defending, and they're losing when they're defending, and it's getting crushed when they're defending because they're not spending enough time on there. So I really think like if you make them, untappable, then I think they start to figure out their attacks by themselves, also by watching matches, because they have a delivery system. It's like teaching people boxing defense, good footwork, bobbing, weaving, ducking, slipping, and then you can tell them you can hit now also, So hitting comes where you're really safe. I'm not saying you should do that. I think you should teach both in that sense. But I'm saying if your defense is really good, you can hit anytime you want. And you can figure out how to hit them because you're freed. But if you only have hits, like, punches, and you don't have defense, you have to hit all the time like crazy, because if you stop, you get punched in the face. I don't think that's a healthy strategy. And other sports like boxing example, it's very, very obvious that boxing needs a very, very strong defense. Boxing is not how to hit people. Boxing is not how not to get hit. And boxing emphasis on defense is way bigger than I think in jiu-jitsu, because they need it, because it's a head trauma. It's a brain damage. So just teaching people how to attack, and then, okay, go spar, and both people know how to attack, and there's shitty defense, what would you think will happen? Somebody gets like a concussion. So it has to be safety first, and then we box, And jiu-jitsu, I don't feel it's that. So again, I'm biased, but I think you know what I mean.
Weirdly enough, so I went to a Ryan Hall seminar.
Stop mentioning Ryan Hall.
He's fantastic.
I know. Just it's I know. Ryan Hall, Google.
I know he's great. Anyway, no, I mean, he's sticking up for what you're about to say. You'll see the relevance.
He's turning his back and telling people in Bernardo Fornia video, don't shrimp, turn your back, get up, And I was like, what? And so Ryan, yeah, he's a guard guy, but now he's like, no, don't shrimp, turn away, get up. I was like,
oh no, he's very much in the get up world.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sorry, yeah.
One of the things that he said at a seminar I recently went to, two things. He's got the strangest analogies. I was sitting with Mihkelson and we were like, what? Where's he going with this? Is that he said that he asked the question, what would war be like if you were immortal? And we were all sitting there like, what? Like, where are you going with this? He said that if you knew you couldn't be killed, if you knew you were invincible, you could just walk up to the other side and just shoot them all in the head. Like, it'd be so easy. It's just saying that, if your defense is good, you can choose what attacks you want. There was something else.
I understand. In a way, it makes sense. I understand.
And he made the point of, he's one of the media sensationalizations of the UFC. Is it's always that conversation of, oh, this person, can punch a car in half and all this kind of stuff, or this, it's like being hit by a Ford Escort. Like, it's like, fantastic, great. I don't want to get hit by anyone. Like, I don't care how hard you hit. I don't care if you are the heavyweight champion or in the flyweight division. I don't want to get hit in the face by you. And instead, using the American analogy, is that it's always like, this bullet can vaporize a moose, and it's like, couldn't give a shit. Like, I don't want to get shot in the chest. Like, I don't care how big your bullets are. It's like, I don't want to get hit. And so, what matters more to me? How good my attacks are, or how good my defense is? If I become immortal, if I can't get shot or I can't get hit, I can choose what I want to do. Then my attacks can have their own flair. But what means more to me is not getting hit in the first place and making sure my defense is good. I think even Lachlan, who was on here a couple of weeks ago, he even said, like, uniform defense has to be uniform, and then offense can have your own flair. So there's no argument that, at pretty much every level is this idea that defense has to be there. Like, you have, like John Jones, arguably one of the best MMA fighters of all time. I think it's only been taken down once. So it means his takedown defense is fantastic. Now, if he had shit takedown defense, he probably wouldn't be as good as he is. Like, if he was just slinging leather all the time and just hoping for the best, he ain't going to be there. Like, GSP, again, another person who just can't be taken the fuck down. Brilliant defense. He can then choose what he wants to then fire back at you. But like I said earlier, it has to be, when you first learn boxing, I did 6 years of Muay Thai. It's clunky as hell. Like, your footwork's all over the place, your head movement's all shit. Like, you don't deserve to throw a punch for a while because your defense you don't know how to move. A lot of jiu-jitsu is I say, positive action. It's, oh, you have to have the best attacks, you have to have the best submissions, you have to have the best entries, you have to have the best passes. Great, fantastic. That's just bigger bullets again. Like, just offense. Offense is the best defense. Have bigger bullets, and the other person, would be dead first. I don't want to get shot in the first place because you may still shoot me first. So I'm going to work on my defense. And then if you can't shoot me, if I know that I am, I can just slip every shot you have, I can do what the fuck I want to you. Like, this is fantastic. But I think the postures, that's you mentioned earlier, they do exist in the wider sphere. Like I say, grilled chicken open guard is what you got from watching Braulio. And then you can, when you have that super tight open guard that people can't get past, then you can do what you want. So it does exist out there, but you've just essentially condensed it down into these, Infinity Gauntlet-like nuggets. And it looks weird for people because, like I say, then you're having white belts being super clunky. They're playing guard, then going, jumping into running man or Hawkins or any of those positions, or turtle. And it's like, oh, this feels weird. Like he's doing a very condensed version of this. Like ADCC, I was watching it last year. Was it last year? And people were playing the very similar turtle. Not exactly yours. They'll have like almost like a Naruto arms out the back defending their ankles. But they're still defending their armpits. And I'm like, it's there. Okay, it's not exactly the same. But the logic of defending your armpits, keeping your posture, defending these important spaces is right there. This person is doing it. It's just blended into their attacks. Like, the good boxing is slipping a punch and then firing one back. It isn't like being static, eating 10 shots into your arms and then firing one back. But that's basic boxing. That's day one boxing. That is clunky. Here's offense, here's defense. You haven't tied them together yet. But eventually they blend up. I had a fantastic role in Ireland a couple of years ago. And it was just like a boxing fight. This guy had also been studying your stuff. He had a really good defensive postures. And we were both, it was like literally just like cover, throw attack, cover. And we were both just doing it. And we sat there at the end of it. It was like, that was fantastic. Like it felt like good sport. Like, you'd open up, I'd throw attack, I might have caught you, then you defended, then you turned around, you threw one back, and I'd cover. And it was like, oh, this is awesome. It's one of the best roles I've ever had. But it was very much we could read each other like, oh, okay, this is the gap. I need to attack now. Shit, right? No, my attack's missed. Cover, attack. But that's only come from years of doing this and understanding the sporting aspect. So to then, I say, some reading some of those Reddit comments, it's like, oh yeah, when someone goes to pre-position, I'm really good at wrestling. I'm just going to like crush their diaphragm and shit. It's like, you probably would have done that anyway. if you're a high level wrestler, like again, because I've been traveling on this idea of posturing up, standing up, is people will say, well, what if I'm against a D1 wrestler? Should I stand up then? I'm like, are you asking me, should you stand up against the elite level grappler? Like, well, it doesn't matter what you do if you're against a D1 wrestler. Like, if you're on your back, they're going to fucking kill you. Like, it doesn't matter if you're standing either. Like, to think that jiu-jitsu gives this otherworldly, safety. Like, no, even if they're an elite level grappler in an adjacent sport, you'll still be good in jiu-jitsu. No, you won't. I'm sorry. That's not how this game works. I can say it the exact, like I say, like this whole idea of, would Priit survive Gordon Ryan? Would you?
Yes.
Go on then.
Yes. Yes.
Go on. Does that mean your jiu-jitsu is worthless?
Now from Gordon Ryan.
Yeah, but it's all these fallacies. No. Like,
yes, I know my level. And yeah, so it's not the point that I will survive Gordon Ryan. I think there has to be a method to survive. And somebody at his level, physicality and stuff, and would even how would Gordon Ryan survive Gordon Ryan? So I want to see that. So. But one thing also I kind of wrote down that I wanted to mention, that it seems to be, I'm always blaming others. Let's say people have seen some of my work, and but what they don't see is like how everything, let's say, I feel this, I kind of, is it right or wrong? But that's kind of the feel I get. They haven't seen let's say, the whole system, let's say first, and they haven't seen the advancements of the system, Because first our running man was knee up, and then we closed the knee because people started to do more cradles, and leg lock entries on that leg. And that's why also my prediction is why power ride works if you do actually running man legs wrong. And I'm not trying to be an asshole and say like, oh, if somebody loses in running man to power ride, you do it wrong. So if you do it right, you can't lose. It's like I'm moving the goalpost a little bit. Like, no. It's you doing it. If you lose, it's not my stuff anymore, So, but there's some truth to that in that sense. What I'm saying is like it's specific, and it's very, 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 very often when I correct running man structures on people, like put your knees together and everything, and people have hard time from videos copying me somehow. But running man also these days we play running man on our elbow post, let's say. These days, I play turtle, head on a mat, seal feet. I play elbows on a mat, turtle. I play straight arms on a mat, turtle. I play toes on a mat, not toes on a mat. I play sideways turtle, like I said, elbow on a mat. And the structures, let's say, have evolved. Yeah. And we have added things, because we had to. And I'm also exploring. I could never thought that, straight arm turtle was a good thing because it's, referee position NCAA because it's kind of looks too open. But I started to do it, and then obviously people have seen Greg Jones talk about it, and Greg Jones, doing it also. He weirdly does very similar things, and it's awesome to see, so to speak, the back structure and turtles and stuff. So I'm really enjoying that he has also made like a pretty considerate deep dive towards defense. And I don't know, I've never talked to him, so I don't know his mindset and the goal, and does he keep doing that, or it would be interesting to kind of hear his thoughts in some point, or somebody would ask him in a podcast or something. But yeah, so the structures, if I because first of all we didn't have structures, so we came up with structures that we thought that were good, and then the attacks had to adapt to those structures, and then we could fine tune them still. So some of the let's say people got also, let's say, jokingly wrong structures, because first we did turtle toes on a mat, yeah, and then because it was like a half answer a little bit, because the turtle we promoted, and there's also DVD about it. The upper body information is really good, because that kind of turtle, head on a mat, elbows and everything, um, really shut down the upper body attacks, seat belts, tarsus, anacondas, everything. But then people adapted, and then everybody became like ankle picker, because that was the weakness. But I'm also saying this happens in a lot of different research. You figure out something that you have the best theory to explain, and what about that guy's theory is good in explaining that, but he can't explain this, but still the search continues, So they're not saying, oh, it's shit, So okay, but we use that what we can, and then like, okay, that we can't answer. Okay, search continues. So now then we had the seal feet, and now we're making elbows post and straight arm post to make our actually the feet very heavy. So there's not really ankle picks. It's very, very hard. And now we discovered that it's actually surprisingly difficult compared to how open it looks. Take the back when it's straight arm turtle. I've taught it using ecological approach. And that's funny because actually I don't know techniques. I don't know why it works. But I could use it. I could teach it actually using ecological approach by creating experiences in people. And they actually made it work. And everybody was super surprised. But I was like, guys, if you would ask me a technique why it works, I couldn't say. But when I make you do it 4 hours, I actually can make it work. And so I was really like, I found that ecological approach being very efficient, teaching my early findings. Usually I don't release information that early because I have to figure out the techniques and stuff to teach it. But using ecological approach, I could actually introduce my ideas to people early and in an earlier research stage, and then actually have really interesting results. And then with their help and everything, maybe even develop techniques further. They're like early adapters that I can introduce information. And at first I couldn't do it with the typical technique method because that's why it usually takes a while to figure out. So I was really happy. I just recently did it like a couple of weeks ago. And so people have to consider also, like what I always say, like stay connected, because I've met people that said, oh, Priit, after 2 years, oh, Priit, you changed your turtle. Now your toes on the mat. I invested so much time to fixing my toes so my toes can bend, and but now you say it's changed. What the f, I'm like, but that's what you get for not staying connected for 2 years, and then you take something, you run with it, and then you don't care what I do else, and maybe I'm saying I was wrong, or maybe we add things. So my message to people also who let's say find it interesting what I do, try to stay connected to my recent I don't know, research discoveries, see how it's changed. Not everybody is off track, but I find some people have taken something and like a gospel and they ran with it, and after a year we tweaked it a bit or changed, and they're like, oh, now it changed. What do you mean it's changed? I was like, I'm always gonna change my mind because we need attacks to be adapted, and then we can go on. It's not an easy process, you know, and so I don't know. I even just, I don't know how, when do you have to leave or when I have to leave, but I don't know if this conversation actually helps anything to solve, or does it create more questions, or can we even answer things that, we're answering problems that people have said towards me. But I find we address some of it, But I'm actually interested to see what happens when you release this, and it is like some questions now answered, and we weeded out some, and then we have, let's say, 3 questions left that people have, because we had 10, but now we have 3, and then like, Preet, you do this, 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 but then I know better what I'm fighting, because first is like a information flow and just like random shit thrown at me, I was like, okay, let's weed something out and let's see what questions stick, and that what actually the problem is. So that's why I also appreciate you doing this podcast, and we can free form talk, and also you have the experience of doing that, and so I don't have to explain you anything. We can just talk about it, and you can lie about your experience, everything being working and everything is being good, and haha, I made a joke. So I told some people that I have to do at least one joke, a good one. So I kind of sneaked it in right now. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it's so that's why I appreciate that. I know you had a podcast, but I was like, never like, Chris, you want to talk about it? But I guess the initiation, I really appreciate it, came from you, kind of, like, let's do it, So yeah, I didn't want to I don't usually contact podcast people saying like, let's do a podcast, because even if you're kind of my almost good friend, so but it's still I feel like, yeah, I feel like as a podcast, I don't want to abuse our relationship of like, Chris, let's take me to the podcast. I was really appreciating that you asked me, actually, because it is your platform and your audience and everything. So, and yeah, so I hope whatever we have questions left or don't, I hope we kind of solved some of it, the mystery,
No, I think the initial kind of salvo of I've said this to you before, and I said that we should make a video and like I do your stuff, but I'm essentially translating it, which is essentially what I've been doing anyway for the past 4 years, is or doing my best interpretation of it. As I said, it's because of how detail heavy you are with things, it can get lost in the mix, and this idea that you are doing something specific, a niche, and that's why I kind of understood my kind of place in it, is that I'm not that heavy into the niche. I don't explain details as much. Like, I always make the joke that when you first came over to my gym to do grilled chicken open guard, it took 16 hours. It's like, yeah, there's 16 hours in there of details. But also I get the same kind of feedback, because I've obviously been now giving stuff out. I've been a black belt for 4.5 years giving this stuff. It's been 4 years since that first video dropped. It was 2019. Good God. But people listen to that and go, oh, but do you still do this? I'm like, no, it's 4 years ago. Like, if you're allowed to go in 4 years, probably from like blue belt to maybe your brown belt, I'm allowed to get better as well. Like, why aren't I allowed to grow? If I've said something 4 years ago and all of a sudden I'm saying, oh, I don't do that anymore. Oh, why? You changed? Have you? Did you change in the past 4 years? Like, I hope so. If I haven't changed in the past 4 years, I'm a terrible human being. Like, I've just been sitting on the same shit and like playing Final Countdown over and over again. Like, no, I'm progressing as well. And it's one of the reasons why, when we first had the conversation about putting what I do on videos, I felt uncomfortable, because I know that by the time I've said it, it's wrong. As soon as it's out there, it's like, oh yeah, but I know. Even if a week has passed, I know more now. And I think that's like I said about keeping connection with what you do is that through Defensive BJJ is that things change. Like you're fortunate as you travel the world, visiting many black belts. And again, like the argument is, has he ever used it in competition? Yeah, but does he roll against people who compete? He travels, like you do seminars literally every weekend around the world and go to 10 camps a year. Like I'm pretty sure some of the most recent camps there were like 45 black belts. Like, does he get to train with good people? There's 45 black belts there. Like, you tell me other circumstances where there's an opportunity to train with 45 other black belts. Does it work against them though? Yeah, they whinge. So it boggles my mind. But that means you then get experience of going, right, okay, well, yeah, sometimes you lose. That's fine. Sometimes I, make a mistake and something doesn't work, or I'm like, oh, that's strange. But then that's growth, as you go, right, okay, let's figure that out. And, someone then can look at, what I did 3 years ago and go, oh, yeah, but you use turtle like this. I don't anymore. I don't use elbows, head on the mat, elbows in turtle. I play referee position. But I'm aware of my armpit space. And so if I need to cover, I'll cover. But it's now blended. I guess that's the problem with taking video. It's essentially just a picture. It's many pictures. It's a snapshot in time. And once that moment has passed, that's almost like saying, oh, you have a beard now. You didn't have a beard when I last saw you. Yeah, because I've grown one.
It is, and with Reddit, there's a problem, in a way you never know who you're talking to. Some people have the, black belt patch and stuff, but what's bad about the Reddit is it's not face to face, and always, it's been internet joke, I guess, that people are always nicer when it's face to face, even if they dislike you, so to speak. I think just spamming and giving your opinions out, it's very easy, and you can be, not accountable. So Reddit has, for me, a little bit. I'm not trying to be cynical here, like I don't, nobody likes me or whatever. But he has been a little bit it's echo chamber a little bit, and I think it's very hard medium to use kind of discuss things. That's why I always propose the video. I'm still saying that if somebody wants watching this podcast and like, oh, can you, Preet, can you talk this and this? I have questions. Let's talk. I'm willing to do it. And most likely, I would say, because I want people to be accountable and also I want to be accountable, let's film it. We record it and put it publicly up, And I know it weeds out certain people because they have to show their face and they have to now, I don't know, be intelligent, and they just can't go ape shit on me and just start screaming. But I want intelligent conversations about things where both equal sides are like, having arguments and stuff. And then we can agree to disagree and everything. So, so I find that I would love more discussion about it, that, you ask some questions. I would really love some other people ask me questions because they can ask it differently. And I would really want that. So I would, in a way, I'm not worrying about it, that my message is fuzzy and people don't know what I do. They do. Just Reddit seems to be, there are already enough people in Reddit also, I guess, that will like defend me, so to speak. But I don't feel that people don't get my message. Yeah. I feel some people don't get my message. And some of those people are very vocal about it. And it makes it sound like, nobody gets the message. But I don't think the overall scene is that. So that's why I'm not really trying to be like, oh, desperate, like doing this. I like the slow growth. I like the slow spread because then I can weed out the bugs. And I don't want it to be hype. And I want it, maybe people can hype it. They're saying, oh, this is the best thing ever. No, I don't say that. I just do my stuff, keep my head on the ground and, do my things. And I want it to be slow growth. I wanted to spread when it actually works. And people are spreading it, for me when it works. and I want to have that in a little bit like laid back attitude. But because I'm getting filmed, and a little bit like taken out of context, that's as usual, and it's out there all the time, so it might spread faster because it's the information age. But I'm still myself. I'm trying to advance it slowly. And then because my classes are being filmed and stuff, and let's say in club turtles, I don't mind that actually. The spread is also a little bit faster. That may be needed, and then it meets certain resistance. It reaches people differently, so that's expected, and I don't mind that. And I'm really honestly interested of healthy discussions. And if somebody wants to have that, like you or some other podcast that people invite me to, I'm willing to explain myself and to understand more about myself. I would even say like this because more if people ask different questions, I have to understand myself differently. So I think it's very important that like typical interviewers, like athletes, they say everybody asks the same question: how did it go? And then you answer the same thing like 20 times to different TV channels, and finally it's super boring, like a machine, like da, 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 da. I think it's important to ask different questions, and so not only the same ones. And I'm not saying every podcast should be all different, but I just here and there one, two different questions, and I think it just randomly happens anyway when people have me in podcasts. So and even in Reddit, but yeah. So anyway, do we have anything else?
No, I think that's a good opening discussion. Hopefully, like I say, it's surprising how many people listen to this podcast. Not surprising. I'm happy for it, but it picks up a weird amount of numbers every week. So hopefully, some discussion does come out of this. I look forward to the questions that are going to appear on all various platforms. So and I'm always available. I don't have such a busy schedule such as you. Although I am off to Tbilisi in Georgia as of this week, that's going to be. I'm going to explain standing up and wrestling to Georgians. So let's see how that one goes.
They're like it's a wrestling country.
Yeah, I'm going to have the best time.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm asking also this, that let's say if we do this, we put it out, people comment and everything, you get some feedback. Are you willing to do part two
Yeah.
out of the comments that people give you?
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying like, once Tbilisi and Munich, and imagine you get back from Zen Camp or any of those things, yeah, do round two. This is an easy setup for me. It's not like I have to plan hard. I turn my computer on. So if your schedule allows it, then we'll do round two, we'll do round three.
Yeah, because I think it's like when we blabber and stuff, so maybe people can go like, yeah, but you missed that question and that question. What about this? So
That's
then
what
we
I'm
can
hoping for.
specifically go towards some specific questions, and then we can go around that actually people really are curious about. So yeah, if you're willing to do that, I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. So anyone listening to this, all of you listening to this, not anyone, it's all of you now. Please send in, from this initial discussion. Like I say, it's hearing what Preet does, hearing it is a niche thing. It is like it definitely goes against the grain that when it comes to regular jiu-jitsu, trying to win in every sparring. I say it's one of those aspects that people treat sparring as their main form of competition. Working on defense, how to blend defense into offense, where that information is, I think that's actually the thing that I'm focusing more on now, because there's no point me doing defensive details. That's your deal, sir. But when it comes to like blending how I get out of the defensive postures to offense again, it's something I'm currently creating. But obviously, you have escapes and all that information coming out on Defensive BJJ. So yeah, anyone who has questions for this, go onto the Discord channel. There's a link on the YouTube video for this, for the Discord, or just leave a YouTube comment. we both are available on Instagram. I'll make sure I put Priit's handle in the YouTube description as well, or just Priit Mihkelson. See that?
That is some butchering.
See that? I purposely did.
Yes.
Available on Instagram. We're both highly accessible. Yes, drop us a line, and we'll do round 2 of this probably early to mid-October.
Cool.
I can get this out. This is going to be out. We're recording this Saturday the 23rd. I'm going to have this out by Sunday 24th. So.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, like turnaround time's fantastic. Yeah, so we'll both share this. Please get those questions in, and we'll do round 2 probably mid-October, and we'll answer all those questions. I'll save them up.
Cool.
Thank you for your time, sir. Enjoy your seminar day. I'm going back to bed.
I will have a coffee and then go to show some defensive shit.
Talk more jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Cool.
Although I know you do the sword and shield stuff with Raul. Maybe do some shield and lesser shield at some time.
Yeah, so he picked sword and shield. We could do like shield and shield, you know?
Yeah. Well, if anyone wants to book us for that nonsense seminar, here we are. Like, drop us a message.
Yeah.
Your schedule's pretty fucked up, but mine's pretty open.
I have some room in 2025.
We're not going to be doing anything like that. All these defensive postures are dead by 2025.
True, might be, yeah.
We're doing purely offense. Double sword attacks.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, sir. Have a brilliant day.
Yeah.
And yes, this has been Villaincast.
Okay.